Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Welcome everybody. I see some new faces, or at least some faces I'm not familiar with, so I'll do my introduction. My name is Farox. I'm a 33, soon to be 34-year-old lay Buddhist disciple of the Theravada tradition. I took the precepts and the refuge almost 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years this May, and what that means is that I am not a monk. I'm not a master or a guru or anything like that. I'm just a regular lay disciple on the path of Dhamma, like everybody else. And I do a few things here. I do the basics of Buddhism class, and I do lead a meditation and suttas. And today, what we do is we do a Dhamma talk and discussion. And welcome, Damaris. I'm surprised I don't have you on my friends list, Damaris. After all the times we've had together here at the Buddha Center, so I just added you. But anyway, good to see you. So, what we do here is a Dhamma talk and discussion. And usually, if you're not familiar with how Dhamma talks go with monastics, so with the monks or the nuns, depending on your tradition and who's available to you, there's usually the first part is a half hour of the person doing a Dhamma talk, and the second part is questions and comments and stuff like that. Since I am not a monastic, and since I like doing it the opposite way, I like to have you comment or question at any time during the talk. You don't have to hold your questions to the end like you normally do for monastics. I like to have a discussion as well. Last week went very well, actually. I didn't have any specific topic, and all we did was just kind of take questions. Who wanted to? I think typed, at least initially, would probably be better. And if you wanted to do it in voice, that's fine. But at least just to type it first before you go into voice. This way, it's not something that's a surprise, or we're not talking over each other. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about today is the very core, the very basic core of Buddhist practice, of Dhamma practice, and that is meditation, and why you're not doing enough of it. Don't lie. I know you're not, because I'm not either. I'm just kidding. Meditation is something that, in our modern society, we find hard to do. Especially if you're a Westerner and you're like me, you do meditation, in the mornings before work, and people like think you're passed out or sleeping or something when they walk past you going into work. Meditation is how much do I do? I do 40 minutes every day in the morning. You probably should do also some in the afternoon or night as well. I find that a lot harder to do, depending on how late I have to work and all that kind of stuff, but how tired I am. But I know every morning I can go there. Works at 9 o'clock. I usually get there around 8:20, and I do a mix of walking meditation and sitting meditation. Yeah, and that's something that I built up to. So who here, I guess, would say has been doing meditation for 6 months or more and does it on a regular basis? as in every day, at least one time a day. Okay. Well, Alyssa, I caught you. It's because you came in later. You were. It wasn't easy to jump in. Oh, yeah, I know. Very good, Denise. Very good. Well, meditation is something that's very hard to do. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Not only is it hard to do because we have to find the time, which I'll talk about a little later. There's no such thing as finding time to do meditation. But it's also hard to do because of us. What you're doing in meditation is you're observing yourself. You're being with yourself, alone with yourself, and a lot of people can't do that. They have a lot of issues with that. They have to feel like they're connected somehow. They're always on their cell phones, or they always need to have people around them. So they have those kind of issues. And then there's also meditation can bring up painful things as well. So meditation is something that we do to see things as they truly are. And as we all know, the truth isn't always sunshine and lollipops. Seeing things as they truly are is seeing things as they truly are, not how we want them to be or how we wish them to be. So, for these reasons, and probably a couple others I didn't mention, meditation is not easy. It's not something that we do. Even those of us who have desire to do it, we probably want to do it even a little bit more, but the same issues cloud us. I do my meditations in the morning. I get home, I work, sometimes I work late, I come back at night and I feel like almost like meditation is a chore that I need to do. And that's not a good thing. It's like, because I'd be like, oh, that's a chore. I'd rather play video games or watch TV or something else instead. Something like that. And but I'll use the words from the Venerable Ajahn Chah. And Ajahn Chah, if you're not familiar with Ajahn Chah, you might be familiar with Ajahn Brahm. He's a little bit more famous. Ajahn Chah's been dead about 20 years now. He was a very, very famous monk, a Theravadan monk from Thailand. And a lot of his students argue that he was enlightened, but it doesn't really matter here or there. And he said the same thing. But what he always said was, if somebody came to him and said that they don't have time to meditate, his answer would be, you have time to breathe, don't you? Then you have time to meditate. And that line is a pure truth about meditation. We feel that meditation needs to be something that we take time away from our daily lives to do. That is something that we need to find a nice place and sit down and not have any distractions at all. Oh, those kids better be quiet. Or those neighbors, they better not make any loud noises or anything like that. But we have all of these things that we think that meditation is supposed to be. And it's really not. What meditation truly is two things. It's mindfulness and it's concentration. But more of really what it is, and some of you have heard me talk, you've heard me say this, meditation is mindfulness, mindfulness is meditation. And when you know this, you know that meditation is something that you can do at any time of the day, at any second of the day. It's not something that you need to say, okay, I have to do 30 minutes of this right now. I'll tell you from experience that I have gained insight in periods of meditation that lasted a minute, and I've gained suffering from periods of meditation that last an hour. So the time that you put into meditation doesn't necessarily matter. Although obviously the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more understanding. But you don't have to set time away or feel like it's an obligation that has to be done. When I was at one of my last retreats, Bhante Gunaratana talked about meditation, and he suggested that when you're at work, or if you're at home working during the day or whatever, the last minute of every hour, so that 59th minute of every 60 minutes, take a break, be mindful for about 20 breaths or however long that minute lasts, and then after that minute's done, you continue on with what you're doing. And that is, right there, that's close to 15 minutes every day. You didn't do it all at once, but you took the time to, over the course of the day, take even that brief minute to meditate. And it wasn't that, oh, you have to follow your breath, you have to sit right this way, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's just wherever you are, whatever, if you're sitting, whatever you're doing, taking that minute off to meditate. And I would argue that that has just as much benefit as taking a 15 minutes to a half hour in one period to do it. You might not be able to get into deep stages of concentration in 1 minute, but that's not necessarily the point either. What the monks when people become a monk, they become a monk or a nun so that they have more time to develop mindfulness. And the monks' chanting and the monks' rules and how the monks do things is everything they do, from sitting in meditation to digging to planting to whatever they do, to even going to the bathroom, is done with mindfulness. And that means if you're going to the bathroom, not bringing your cell phone in there because you're bored, because you need to have a connection, or bringing a book or whatever. Or if you're out in the yard digging or doing something, you feel like you need to have the radio and you have to have your cell phone next to you and this and that. It's being in the present moment and doing what you're doing right then and there. That is mindfulness. Mindfulness is that period of time that you are utterly and unbelievably in the present moment. And when you are in the present moment, there are no thoughts of the future or of the past at all. The first time that happened to me, it felt really, really weird. It felt like it was some amazing insight. And some of you, actually, people like Damaris and Denise, have heard me say this 1 billion times, but it sucks for them, so they're going to hear it again. My first, what I would consider my first utter experience of mindfulness was I was doing walking meditation, and it was just on a 15-minute break from work. Just go outside, do some walking meditation, and my mind wanted to sing "Sweet Caroline" from Neil Diamond or whoever it is. I always mix up the guys' names. So I just let my mind sing. So my mind's singing, and I'm doing my walking meditation, and all of a sudden, I noticed that there was no more singing, no more thought, nothing. And it was just a completely mind-blowing experience, because that was the first time in my life that through my practice I was able to completely and utterly be in the moment right then and there. And again, this didn't happen after sitting for an hour or anything like that. This happened within the first couple of minutes of walking meditation on a break in the middle of the day. Now, since then, I can come to to mindfulness, not on a very regular basis, but if I'm able to, it comes, but it's not such an amazing or shocking experience anymore. It's like, okay, it's here. Yeah, but that first time when you practice, and practice is what it's all about. When you practice and you have that first experience, you almost grow attached to it. And that's one thing you never, ever, ever want to do in meditation. No matter what happens in meditation, whether it's you've experienced mindfulness, or some people experience voices and demons and all these kind of things, stuff that I've never experienced. I hear some people's meditation experiences, and I almost kind of wonder, my meditation's boring. Why don't I get all these crazy things happening? But every monastic will tell you a mindfulness slump. Oh yeah. But the key is always observing. You're always observing. That's all you want to do in meditation. You want to observe, and you don't want to put any subjective judgment on what you're observing. If you're in a mindfulness slump, you're like, oh God damn it, why can't I be mindful? That's putting judgment on that, and that's just that goes down the wrong way. Now, if you see that, okay, that's natural, and you just observe, and this is what it is. I have a mindfulness slump. Okay, continue to observe. You know what mindfulness slumps do? They arise, they climax, and they cease. Just like everything else. It comes and it goes. And sometimes it waves by on the way out. So, the thing about meditation is that when you come to practice, and you practice on a regular basis, you start to realize that any kind of insights or any kind of mindfulness will come when it comes, and it goes when it goes. I'm to the point now, and believe me, I'm no advanced meditator at all. I mean, honestly, I could say that I've probably been meditating for about 6-7 years, but I can also honestly say that my meditation practice has not really been serious or to the point of I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm going to keep doing it for only about 2 years now. So believe me, I'm no master meditator, that's for sure. But I'm to the point where I realize and I see that I know this practice is beneficial to me. I know that it works. I know that As long as I keep practicing, even if I have 10 days or 20 days or a year of mindfulness slumps and bad meditation or whatever, what I would judgmentally consider bad meditations, if I keep doing it, I know that it will be beneficial. Now, you don't want to see mindfulness meditation is, yeah, yes, exactly. And that's hard to do. That's something that really takes practice, to because your mind will want to judge. And do you know what you do when your mind judges? You observe that too. You don't make any judgment on the judging, because that's just what happens. That is the nature of your clouded mind. And you can do, like Marie says, noticing. You can note it. You can note something that's happening. Just like sometimes, depending on different teachers, some teachers say not to note, others say to note. Even though I guess I would consider the only real world teacher, as in the only monastic that I've actually been able to talk with and be with on retreats is Bhante G, Gunaratana, and he says, he's not big on the noting, and I do know that other monastics are big on the noting. What I've come to find for myself, in my view of there always being a middle way, is that sometimes in the beginning, noting is good. It almost comes to the point where if you note in the beginning and you need that, eventually you don't need to note anymore. It's like your mind automatically knows. Like when I go to start my walking meditation, and you stand there. The walking meditation is on either end, in the beginning and in the end, and when you turn around. Each time you end the path, you do basically a short amount of standing meditation. And I know that, oh crap, I just lost where I was going. And you know what? That happens too. Where was I going? About observing, I think. Oh, yes. I think I know where I was going. Noting. Yes, exactly. Thank you. And what I used to do a lot of is, when I first learned walking meditation, the monastic who was Venerable Dhamma from Sri Lanka, he taught us, and this is also actually from the Satipatthana Suttas as well. You know that you are there. So, and the Venerable would say, "Here now, I am standing." And I would do that. Here now, I am standing. And that kind of puts your head into this mode. You keep doing it every time. Here now, I am standing. I actually expanded that. I came up with what I consider, I guess, an insight, but I don't know if it is or not. But my thing, I started to add, one day it came to me, the past is shadows and dust. The future is shifting and uncertain. There is only the present moment. And then I would add, and here now, I am standing. So I would do that. And now it's to the point where when I go to stand right before my walking meditation, my mind automatically knows, boom, and I'm in that zone, in that mode, in that mindfulness mode. It doesn't always happen. There's no such thing as perfect meditation all the time. But I can tell, I don't even have to note anything. I don't have to say anything to put my mind into that. So, and one of the big things that I also found was noting future. Every time in the beginning, every time that I felt that my mind was going to the future, I would note future. And this is not something that I've been taught, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure why. I just for me, I felt like it's worked. And in the rare times I was in the past. And this came to me. Now, I don't necessarily have to know. I can catch myself, my mind in the future, and comes back to the present. But of course, that's not something that you can do right away. I mean, and even every once in a while, if it's very, very strong in the future, I still say, future, future, future. And that helps my mind to come back to the present moment. Because when you're in meditating, what you're trying to do is, as I said, to see things as they truly are. And to see things how they truly are, you have to be in that present moment. Your mind can't be that you have to go to work in 5 minutes or anything like that. Your mind can't be in the future to truly see and observe how things are right at that moment. The same thing in the past. If you're worried about, oh, I said a bad thing to this person, or I regret this, or I regret that, again, your mind cannot be there in the present moment to see things how they truly are. Now, you don't want to be mad at your mind if it's not in the present moment. You just want to observe. And I'll give, I want to give some tips on just starting meditation and stuff, but I want to just, before that, talk about how when I first started meditation, you read, if you're not lucky enough to have a good meditation teacher near you, really how you find out is from books. And back when I started to really try to learn meditation, there was no like YouTube yet and all this stuff. So all I really knew was from books and some videos. And they always teach you, find a good spot, make sure your back is erect and your hands are this way and this and that, and you're supposed to note the breath and this and that. And it just never worked for me. I just always get so frustrated. Why it's supposed to be this way. It's supposed to be that way. This is how they say it's supposed to be this way. And what I found that basic meditation teachings don't tell you is that you need to know that whatever way, whatever way you think it's supposed to be, it's not going to be that way. The basics of meditation teachings don't teach you to just observe. They don't teach you, if you can't follow your breath, which by the way, to this day, I have trouble doing. I don't know if it's because I have asthma or other issues, but I still struggle in sitting meditation, although I think it's getting a little bit better. If you can't follow your breath, it's okay. Observe this, observe that. Whatever's happening, observe it. If you can't follow your breath, observe not being able to follow your breath. See, I didn't know all this stuff back then. Now I do. And this is how I say, like, I've been a meditator for probably close to 10 years, but not really a true advancing meditator, somebody who's doing it on a regular basis and feeling like he's getting somewhere. That's only been the last 2 years, if that. So it wasn't until I started finding teachers like Ajahn Brahm, Bhante Ji, Ajahn Chah, Venerable Yuta Dhamma. It wasn't until I started finding these teachers that taught that in meditation you're not trying to gain anything. You're not trying to gain levels. It's not like a video game or something where you're trying to get to the higher level. It's nothing like that. What you're trying to do in meditation is let go. Your mind is luminous, the Buddha said. The mind is luminous. The problem is, the mind is like what I would say a mucked up lighthouse. If you see a lighthouse, and you've probably all seen a lighthouse, how the beam Very strong beam. It's so that sailors from miles away can see this. So it needs to be very strong, very bright. Our mind is like that. However, our mind is like a lighthouse that has all kinds of mud and gunk and junk all over the glass. So our mind is luminous. However, we have all of these fetters, all of these the aggregates that cause these issues that block our mind from being truly free and truly bright. Yes. So what we're trying to do is not add more junk to it. We're trying to piece by piece, like a little chisel. We're trying to chisel off little pieces of that gunk and junk on the lighthouse. Chisel, 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 chisel. And you'll notice that as you really get into practice and you really feel like you can do it every day, no matter how, even if it's for 5 minutes, you start to see, you get these little insights. And that's what what you're doing is you're starting to see things as they truly are. Even if it's just a little bit, a little pinprick of light is starting to come out as you're chiseling. You chisel, you chisel, you chisel. And so what we're doing is we're letting go. We're loosening all the junk on our minds. It's all going. We're dropping it. And eventually, when you reach the deathless, when you reach that point where you are enlightened, that lighthouse is completely and utterly clear and beaming so that all beings can see that light and be led by it. That's the Buddha. And that's the Arhats. That's what we can be. We can be enlightened. And the way to enlightenment is meditation. That's what the Buddha taught. In the Buddha's time, there were no suttas. There weren't all these, 10,000 pages or whatever, basically the size of 11 Bibles worth of suttas and abhidhammas and all these things that people can become very scholarly about. And they can study their whole lives about the suttas. They can know everything the Buddha ever said, but they never meditated once. So they don't know jack about seeing things how they truly are. And on the other hand, and by the way, this is also in the suttas too. There's a monk who the other monks didn't like. They went to the Buddha. He says, all he does is sit around and meditate all day. He doesn't do this, or he doesn't do that, or this or that. And the Buddha says, this is my true son. Meaning, this is the person who truly follows my path. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't read the suttas. The suttas are important. But more important is meditation. That is the most important thing if you want to truly develop your path of Dhamma. Now, how to start out doing meditation. I highly suggest doing what I told you about what Bhante G said about every hour. And listen, we're all busy. I know, believe me. You think I can actually remember still to do to every hour to stop? It's hard. It's not easy. If you can remember every hour or whenever you remember, stop for a couple minutes. And this is something I've been doing for years now, where you know that if you're working for hours and hours and hours, and some people in my line of work, I do child protective services, and I have something like 36 kids on my caseload. So there's people in my line of work who are so anxiety ridden, they don't take any of their breaks, they don't take lunch, maybe they eat something at their desk because they feel like this has to be done, that has to be done, this has to be done, and they just destroy themselves. And it's rough, but I can do every couple hours at least, maybe I'll take 5 or 6 minutes and just sit there and meditate. That's it. Now, your boss comes by and says, what the hell are you doing? What are you, sleeping on the job? No, you can explain. And you know what? Studies show that human productivity drastically drops the more hours that you're working hard and you don't have any rest. If you can take that minute every hour or that couple minutes every hour and clear your mind, just sit, observe your breath, observe whatever occurs, then that will clear your mind. It's almost like taking that 5-hour energy thing, but without having to go to the 7-Eleven or whatever to buy it and put God knows what down your throat. Clearing your mind gives you energy. Meditation gives you energy. You'll notice that as well. Red Bull, yeah. Now, the Buddha, the suttas, they talk about how the more you meditate, the less hours of sleep you need. I haven't gotten to the point where I agree with that yet. Although I only get about 6 or 7 hours of sleep a night. I wish I probably got more, but I do wake up a little earlier just so I can get my meditation in, and I still don't want to go to bed too early, so that's one of those struggles. But anyway. So, starting out, if you're really just starting out on your meditation, you don't feel like, I can't do a half an hour. I'm a horrible meditator. I've been to 3, 5, and 7-day retreats. I teach at the Buddha Center, and I still struggle to meditate for an hour. So please, do not worry if you can't even meditate for 10 minutes. Don't worry about it. Get that 5 minutes in. Get that 10 minutes in. Whatever you can do, do it. And don't put a judgment on how long it can be done. I'll tell you that I have gotten in 5-6 minutes. I've had a 5 or 6 minute period that felt like 2 hours. And I've had an hour period that felt like 5 minutes. But I've also had an hour period that felt like 30 hours. That's the worst. But that happens. Yes. So you don't want to put any judgment on however much you can do. Meditation is a skill, and it's something that takes practice. And always know that in meditation, always remember that it's not just sitting meditation. The Buddha taught meditation 4 ways: sitting, walking, standing, lying down. You don't need to be sitting down for an hour. As a matter of fact, many monastics, and this is where I thank very much so Venerable Dhamma from Sri Lanka, who taught me that you should do walking meditation as much as you should do sitting meditation. Yes, well, and that, listen, that's 100% true. 100% true. However, that's not, again, just as how I said that they don't teach you some things in the beginning, you're not just going to do that. You're not going to just sit down and meditate for 20 minutes as a regular person on a regular basis. If you can, from the very beginning, well, sadhu, 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 excellent, that's very good. But for the average person, and I've come to find throughout my own experience, that's not easy. And it's not something, it's something that, just like anything, basically meditation is something that you need to attach to yourself like a bad habit. But it's a good habit. Because it's something that you need to work on. As much as we want to eat junk food and do all these bad things, we need to be addicted to meditation. Although you can addicted to it in a good way and not an attachment, because I'll tell you what, you can get addicted to it that it becomes an attachment. And I almost psych myself out in the mornings. There's some mornings that I don't get to meditate because I have to go to court early or whatever for my job. And I almost feel like I jinx myself and it's going to be a worse day. Like, oh, I didn't get to meditate. I'm not going to be peaceful. I'm not going to be in the moment. I'm not going to, things are not going to go as good as they could have if I had time to meditate. It can kill you. It can go worse for you. I haven't seen that. I'd definitely like to see that. But so, when you get to the point where you are doing your meditation every day, even not doing it can cause dukkha, can cause suffering, because you're attached to it because you know that it's beneficial. You know it's helping your life in many, many ways, and you almost become superstitious that if you don't get it in, it's gonna be a bad day. Like, I have this superstition, which is silly because I don't really have a lot of superstitions, but in my job there's all kinds of superstitions. Like, don't say that, oh, there hasn't been an emergency all day, because you know there's gonna be an emergency as soon as you say that. And it's funny just how cause and effect works out, because there's been plenty of times where I thought, oh, it's been a good day, and then boom, at 4:30 I'm going out till 10 o'clock because of an emergency. So even in the morning, where I park in the morning can determine in my mind, I don't want to park there, because that means assuming that I'm not going to have an emergency, and as soon as I know I'm not going to have an emergency, I'm going to have an emergency. So you have all these silly things in your head, but that's just natural. That's just the way it is. And even when you start to practice, you won't even need to be in a meditation period or a meditative state to start to be able to observe your mental processes, to see exactly where that thought just came from, the 5 or 6 other mental processes that led to that thought and then to that action that you wanted to perform physically. That is the benefit, and that's what the only people, the ultimate goal is to be mindful at all times, to be in the present moment 24/7, 365 in your life. You know the only people that can do that, right? The arahants, those who are enlightened. But what we're doing is we're trying to move to that point. So you can't be mindful 24/7 if you think that mindfulness is sitting on a cushion, because you gotta even monastics have to do things, you can't be. So mindfulness is not, and meditation is not something that is just done on a cushion or in a nice, comfortable, secret, silent place, so that you can get deep meditations and have all these raptures and all this stuff. So I've kind of gone talking on a lot, so I just wanted to make sure that if anybody has any questions or comments or anything like that, we still have 15 minutes, so there's still plenty of time. But the main thing that you want to do is to just, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, start out with 5 minutes a day. Oh, believe me, I dislike the cushion so much that it's easy for me to get off the cushion. I do walking meditation. I'm more attached to walking meditation than sitting meditation, and that's something that I try to fight against as well. Chanting as in like how the monks chant, or chanting as in like Om Mani Padme Hum, kind of like those kind of chants? Mantras, I should say. Because the monks don't necessarily chant for meditative purposes. I mean, they do, and what they're chanting is all usually remembrances of how to to live life, how to be how to do this, how to do that, how to be mindful. But see, I honestly can't really talk too much about mantras because, to be honest with you, um, it's not really done in the Theravada tradition. Mantras. So I don't really do it. I mean, that's not to say that in the past I haven't done Mani Padme Hum. I did in the past have a 108 bead mala, mala necklace or mala bracelet, and I would, do that. Um, and the mantra does, in a lot of ways, help you get into a sort of a meditative or at least a trance-like state that you could probably use to clear your mind. But I can't really speak to if it has any benefit for actual mindfulness in terms of observing what's occurring. So that goes beyond my scope of knowledge, and not something that I would really want to teach about because I don't know about it. That might be something Delani, who is the founder here. She's actually a Soto Zen Buddhist minister, and something like that she would probably know a little bit more about. There's also Lama Lodro, who teaches. He's a Tibetan Lama who teaches. I guess I don't know where you're from. It's usually in the mornings for me on the East Coast of USA, so I don't really get to see him much. But that's another person that would also probably be better to answer a question like that. Walking meditation. When I came back from, I've only been walking meditation since July. It hasn't even been a year since I started walking meditation. But man, I love it. But what I do when I first got out of the retreat, back in July, that I learned really walking meditation from, I was actually going to a park every morning before work, or really early, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I wake up at 7, but and I would actually do my walking meditation barefoot on the grass, and I liked it. It was really, I did it the whole summer, but once the hours and the daylight started changing, and I just kind of died out for me. But it replaced, that got replaced with me going to work early to do it. I usually do walking meditation on the sidewalk. Now, my office building is basically just the parking lot is just a circle, so that you can walk around the building on a sidewalk. And that's what I do in the morning. What I do is I do the traditional walking meditation, where walking meditation is supposed to be from 30 to 90 feet, and you start one spot, you go to the end, you turn around, and you come back. So it's just in a straight line back and forth. And I do that. On the sidewalk. Now, recently, since I came back from my last retreat a couple weeks back, now see this is the thing. I've come to the point where it's just I'll say hi, because when you're trying to be, what people don't understand a lot in meditation is they think meditation you're supposed to be in this trance where your mind leaves your body and all this stuff. And maybe that's true of other meditations. But in Buddhist meditation, what you're trying to develop is a hyper awareness of the present moment. So that is complete mindfulness. So you're going to know that people are around you. You're going to know that people are walking, talking, smoking cigarettes and all this stuff. And what you're doing is you're observing all of that sound. You're observing the forms. You're observing these things. And if somebody starts up a conversation, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop, get angry because they of an aversion because you had to stop your meditation, and really go against your whole the whole point of the meditation? Or are you going to just be at peace? Observe what happened. You were doing your meditation, causes and conditions changed. Somebody came up and talked to you. Thankfully I do it early enough that most people at my job come in after 9. They come at like 9:05, 9:10. There's probably about 10-15 people that do know that see me every morning meditating, and at this point they know what I'm doing, so they don't even bother me. There's been plenty of times where they'll ask if in the beginning they ask if I'm okay, or they'll say things, "Are you sleeping?" Or they'll say hi, because we feel like we have to say hi. How's it going? And I'm thinking to myself, some guy is sitting down with his eyes closed. Why do you say hi? But see, the thing is, we're conditioned to do this. We're conditioned to feel that we have to say hi, make eye contact, say what's up, even though we don't want them to say. We say how you doing. We don't want them to stop you and say, well, today I'm feeling this, that, I'm feeling that, and like, oh God, you don't want them to do that. So she's sleeping sitting up. So especially in Westerners do not have no concept of meditation, so they don't know what's really going on. You know what I mean? They don't know. Obviously we kind of have experiences, and we know, we can see somebody's meditating. But somebody who has no experience at all with any kind of Buddhism or any kind of New Agey thingy or whatever, anything to do with any kind of meditation, they don't know what you're doing. So if somebody says hi, if I'm in sitting meditation with my eyes closed, most of the time, sometimes I'll say something, sometimes I won't, depending on almost like how I feel that person might react. I don't know. Maybe that's not I can't make a judgment call as to whether that's the right or wrong thing to do, because I don't know if it's the right or wrong thing to do. Sometimes most of the time I'll just, make no response at all. Well, I mean, they're not trying to strike up a conversation with me. They're just trying to say hi. So it's almost like, okay, so now they know that, I'm meditating. They won't say again next time, But if somebody strikes up a conversation with you, whatever you feel like you should do in the moment. But the one thing that you want to observe, if it occurs, is any kind of agitation or aversion to your meditation practice being interrupted. Because you want to observe that. And just as an aside, how you change things, how things change in your mind, is not by forcing or vowing for things to change. Things only change naturally, on their own times and their own accordance. And if you want to change things, the only thing you can do is practice. That's it. When you practice and you start to see things how they truly are, and you see something happens, something occurs that you don't like, and it used to bother you in the past, something in your meditation, somebody interrupts you in your meditation, and you always got agitated, but you couldn't see why you got agitated. As you practice, you start to see the mental formations of how it occurs. And if you're truly observing, if you're not putting any judgment on that observation at all, my insight into it is it's basically like you're catching a kid trying to sneak something. You're catching your mind doing something. You're not putting any observation. It's just like you're giving the look at the kid, and then they stop doing what they were doing. So it's almost like you're catching your mind being this naughty kid or this naughty monkey, and all you need to do is to be there, to observe, and your mind, it's like, oh, I got caught. Okay, I'm not going to do it. That's how it changes. It doesn't change by fighting. I didn't become a better meditator by getting angry and fighting that, oh, it should be this way. I became a better meditator by letting go and observing, and things changing naturally. Listen, 2 years ago, I would have thought I would be, if I knew myself 3 years ago, and I saw that I'm going to work 40 minutes early to meditate, I would have been like, I ain't going to work 40 minutes early. Are you nuts? I'm not waking up that early. I used to be those people that came in at 9:10. I used to be like that. And what happened? Did I make this vow? Did I, cut my hand and make a vow in blood? I will always come early, blah, blah, blah. No. Because vows are meant to be broken. Only natural change occurs as true change. That's it. So I went from coming in at 9:10 every day and being anxious and all this, and to coming in 40 minutes early and meditating for 40 minutes. And again, there's no vow to that. It was just the nature of change through my practice. So always remember, no matter what occurs, no matter what insights you get, no matter what struggles you get, the only thing that you need to remember is to practice. You might come in your mind, oh, am I practicing this right? Am I practicing this right? Is this happening? Is that happening? Am I doing the right meditation? Am I doing this right? All of that serves to make your meditation more complex and give you more dukkha, more dissatisfaction. When you can just be at peace. And how many years have I been meditating? In the last 2 years. Do you think that the first thing I do is I watch my breath? Half the time I still can't watch my breath. Try sitting down and completely and utterly observing your breath without having any control in it. It's near impossible at first. I think I've done it 2 or 3 times. Literally no control, and you know it when it happens. You know it because it's like, wow, I'm literally not controlling your breath. You start to realize that, okay, I don't need to control my body can breathe fine without me. If I'm doing something, if I'm playing video games or something, I'm not thinking about breathing. My body breathes fine. But if we're thinking about breathing, we feel like we're going to die if we don't make sure that we're breathing. So there's all these issues surrounding just following the breath, which is supposed to be the most simple thing for us to do. So even if it's just sitting, this is how I started. I sat for however many minutes I could sit. When my body and my mind was done, my body and mind were done. If it was 5 minutes, if it was 10 minutes, my body and mind were done. That's it. So I got up, I did my meditation, 5-10 minutes, however long it was, and that was it. When I did my meditation, I can't follow my breath? Okay. I'll just be there. Just be there in my mind. Whatever happens, it just happens. Whatever thoughts occur, I just observe. I just let them happen. Whatever thoughts, and this is how you want to start out in the beginning. If you're just beginning, don't even, or you can try to follow those instructions. Sit this right way, sit that right way. Follow the breath, do this, do that. You can try that. But if that doesn't work out for you, just observe. Whatever it is, don't even observe. Don't feel like you have to observe this or have to observe that. Just start to look at your mind and see what it does. And if your mind wants to think the most depraved, crazy thoughts, let it think those thoughts. If your mind wants to think the happiest, nuttiest thoughts, let your mind think those thoughts. You're just observing. You're just letting it happen. Just like when I was talking about my first mindfulness experience. My mind wanted to sing Sweet Caroline. And I don't even know where the heck that came from. I hadn't heard the song in years. But my mind wanted to sing it. So I said, you know what, mind? Sure, why the hell not? So you're not fighting anything. You're just there. You're just observing. You're just being there and allowing whatever your mind does to happen. And that is a good basis. You do that 5 minutes, 2 minutes, however long you can do it. And you'll start to notice that over time you can do it longer and longer. And you'll start to notice that it's a benefit. You'll start to notice that, yeah, this really is a beneficial practice, and you'll start to want to do it. And then you'll start to get suffering because you're not able to do it. But in a way, that's a good problem, per se. But if you just want that is the key to just starting out. Anything that you do, anything that you want to make a habit, you have to do on a regular basis for a long period of time. So they say 10 days, 30 days, whatever they say. I mean, I don't know. I've done things for 30 days and then stopped. So I think it takes a little bit more than 30 days to really make something a true habit for the rest of your life. But anything you want to, if you truly feel that you want to do this, then that's how you start. That's the effort. That's right effort. That's part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right effort. Feeling that I'm gonna do it. You're inspired. You want to do this. I'm gonna do meditation. And you go to it, Damaris, perfect. You can't cling as to what it should be. All you need to do is to just, however long you feel like you need to do it, you do it. You know when your mind and your body are done. You're not going to be a master meditator overnight and sit there for 8 hours. It's just not going to happen. I'm lucky if I do 40 minutes. I mean, at the meditation retreats, you're kind of stuck to having to do 6 hours of meditation, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at a time sometimes. And that's rough. But that teaches you a lot too, though. It's not just for sadomasochism, but it's also not something that you just jump into. I mean, it's really becomes a struggle in your own mind, in your own body, and that's something that you want to have some basics down first to really do. If I tried to jump into doing 6-hour meditations a day for 7 days, the way I was 2-3 years ago, I would have left the first day. I would have left. I would have been, this is ridiculous. I can't do this. My back this, my back that. How can they expect me to sit for an hour? They're nuts. And I'm out. Now that I, am different, I understand the true goal. I can understand, okay, you know what? This is suffering. This ain't easy. Sitting for an hour and a half, 2 hours is ridiculous. But you know what? That gives me a hell of a chance to see It's okay, Moonbeam. Thank you. I know we're actually over time, so that gives you a chance to see how things truly are. So I guess if there's any last questions, I can definitely take those. If you need to go, definitely go. We're definitely over time. If not, then we can end. Here, let me. The schedule is on is on the website, so let me get that website for you. Okay, friends, Dhamma friends. Until next time, may you much metta to you all, and Suki Hantu. May you be happy.